Good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to Focus on Liberia, Roundtable Africa. I am their West African correspondent, Edo Damara. Welcome to this all-important news forum, where we give you current affairs news, or news that happen on the continent. Focus on Liberia uses this particular platform to ensure that we inform, educate, and also entertain our wider listeners, both in Africa and abroad, on issues that take place on the continent. Africa as a continent is so important, but because of our diversity in ideology, our different mentality in terms of colonization, educational background, our religious mentality, corruption, failure of leadership, underdevelopment, it has maybe thrown the continent on numerous occasions into chaotic situation. Unfortunately, we are not actually doing much as a continent to ensure that we take these things to be issues of the past. Before this time here, Africa has been suffering from maladministration. So I think when the struggle for and colonization of Africa came, people were actually saying that, oh, Africa is being liberated for economic freedom. Africa is being liberated to ensure that we have religious freedom. So in fact, these are some of the basic reasons why the colonial powers gave for the colonization of Africa. That is during the struggle for land partition of Africa in the 1900s was that Africa was poor. We had illiteracy on a very high scale. We are uncivilized. We lack a governance system. And above all, we are not religious. So they came to liberate Africa from the shackle of corruption, to install good governance system, to ensure that we have a strong economic power, and to ensure that we have religious freedom, and also we have maybe a straightened democracy. But all those things, maybe we are just alibis, because the main reason why the colonial powers colonized Africa actually was for economic reason. That was why their foreigners, which we are Europeans, only decided to invade initial places that are economically strong. So those places, they use them as hub. We all know how we struggle for under these European powers. African systems, we are strongly destroyed. Our continent, we are exploited. That is why when you see how Europe underdeveloped Africa, you will be actually pathetic for it. Sometimes I don't celebrate white. When I see young people on the continent celebrating these people, they carefully destroy our persons. They destroy our nation. They almost destroy everything that we yearn for. They destroy those things, and today we have no reason to do anything. And we definitely continue to suffer from these things if we cannot fully maybe create a system that will help us to maybe set up certain things that may prevent the reoccurrence of those things. Because there are times we are not even, I can even say we are not learning from our mistake. Because look at what happened during the Liberian Civil War, during Sierra Leone Civil War. We saw something like Africa, the havoc that Guinea underwent. Look like Burkina Faso, Mali. Then you watch almost all African countries. Look at the place like Zimbabwe, you look at South Africa. They even think about places like Mozambique. All of those things, you are seeing that the continent is still suffering from those things. So like maybe we sometimes, if you sit and watch, are we actually capable of governing ourselves? Because if we think and claim that the Europeans, we are actually responsible for our downfall, then let us have a system on our own. Unfortunately, the system is not working. Almost on a daily basis, we are seeing demonstration against our own countries. We are seeing how citizens are being repressed, suppressed. how people are being tortured, killed on a daily basis. Sometimes we watch and people say, oh, yeah, well, yes, Black Lives Matter. Exactly, Black Lives Matter, and I accept that. But why are they killing us on the continent again? Because of the look at what is happening today in Senegal. Just because somebody think and feel that Mr. A should not contest, now they are destroying. So why are we actually crying down other people when we ourselves cannot fix our own problems? So sometimes we have to sit down, we come back on the drawing board. Are we doing enough? Even the young people on the continent. Yeah, you abroad, you may be thinking that yeah, Africa have a very good young population. I agree, definitely. We have a very good population, a young one. But this population that we are having today is not a carefully prepared population. Most of them are illiterate. Some of them are ignorant. They are poor. And we even lack the ability how to progress. Because you must have a population that maybe we have to secure the continent. Why do you think the Asian countries develop? Even when we watch at our type of education that we have, it's too bookish. We need a middle level manpower education on the continent. Education that even though a person may not be a degree student or may not be a degree personality, but as long as there are certain things the person is given maybe the type of education that he or she can survive, will feel happy. Unfortunately, these things are not available. I'm telling you something, the continent, even our type of education system that we are achieving, this education is definitely not preparing our brothers and sisters to succeed into life. Because education is too bookish. It lacks any practical thing. But it is just like the cyber education that our forefathers received. Those education we are only meant to what? To serve the Europeans. Like you are going to be taught how to read and write and simple arithmetics. So it's like you are going to serve as interpreter. So most of this education that we are actually receiving on the continent, we still remain into a server role. So we need to be very careful. We need people abroad, people who are living, people who are well placed. Some of you have gone there, maybe you are living in urbanized society and believe that your knowledgeability about things that happen on the continent is already being urbanized. You have sophisticated mentality. You are well connected. We are expecting you when you come back on the continent, do things that are actually positive. But some of these folks who live abroad, they only approach the continent or their respective countries when it is during time of election. They come here with cheap politics, propaganda, and do whatever about them. And when they come in, interestingly enough, they will meet the market because young people are on the continent, poor, illiterate. They have nothing. In fact, they can even use the halfway educated people to assault the continent. So I feel disappointed. And we see these people, they are not doing anything. They just believe in condemnation. Normally tell people that anybody can condemn, anybody can criticize, but only people, when they are given the opportunity to act, they will do better. So we need to be very, very, very careful. Sometimes you don't base your decision on the advice of people who do not have to deal directly with the result. So this mentality, they are almost always on the continent doing things that are definitely not helping the continent. So we are afraid, but we have to confess that maybe we need to move. We need to move from this mentality and create a type of situation that our system we definitely accommodate. For now, we are really suffering. Honestly speaking, our continent is a bastardized one, a carefully relegated one, because of some of the leadership that we are having on the continent. Some of this leadership are definitely not helping Africa. Every day they are creating situation, pandemonium, this, that, whatsoever. So let's be careful. Let's know how we are going to handle issues, and let's see how our leaders will address the continent in the situation that we definitely need them. For now, we need them, and they are definitely not giving us any hope that the future is going to be brighter. So welcome to Focus on Liberia, Roundtable Africa. We have 8 important stories. One, excessive force from Tanzania in Maasai eviction. We are going to watch at how the Tanzanian government is facilitating the Maasai eviction. They are saying, Amnesty International saying it's an excessive force. Then gunmen killed 30 in raids across Nigerian villages after Bola Ahmed Tinubu came. It's an end. That doesn't I say it is because of lack of coordination, lack of proper planning, maybe poor pieces of advice from the security sector, not proper consultation being made. These are some of the things. And we also see Malawi must stop dumping of refugees, Human Rights Commission says. Then we are also seeing how Egypt and Israel have other issues. Then Gaddafi's son, of course. Now we are seeing the private sector, how people, our private business in sectors on the continent are actually meeting in Abidjan, Ivory Coast, to see how they can definitely come back together, have a very strong economy. Then we have seen, or we also dive into Sudan. The foreign minister, Ibrahim Badawi, is saying that former economics, World Bank, and also a minister, former economics minister also in Sudan, is saying that the conflict is costing the country around $3.4 billion since it started. So let's start. The Tanzanian government has been accused for using excessive force against the eviction of the Maasai people. The Maasai are actually found in Kenya, they are found in Tanzania, some part of Burundi. These are a typical native East African tribe. They don't believe in urbanization and sophistication of their society. They believe in maintaining the tradition, their custom, and they don't want any modern days improvement. They believe that the manner in which a society is, it should remain the way they are. When you watch at the Maasai, they are culturally destined, very peculiar people. They are not sophisticated. They don't believe in urbanization, and they don't want to be westernized, and they don't want to have anything to do with the mentality of the white. But the Tanzanian government, under Madam Salimu Suluku, after she succeeded John Magufuli, when he lost his life some part in 2021. So they are using excessive force to evict this Tanzania. They are claiming that the Maasai are killing maybe wild animals. They want to protect the wild animals. But I think these people need to be informed. You need to be properly educated. Maybe they want to be urbanized or westernized or Western way of life to be introduced to them. They should be very careful on how, because it is their own right. If they do not favor the Renaissance, then people should not, because it is their responsibility to create their own Renaissance. And this is kind of peculiar tribe. I love them. They are so destined. They don't want that kind of spectacular spotlight. They just believe that they should be doing their own thing. And this is how they are. Unfortunately, the Tanzanian government is using excessive force to evict these people and to ensure that they maintain wildlife. But they have been there for quite a long time. And Amnesty International is calling upon the Tanzanian government to be somewhat careful and know how they may go about doing the eviction of these Maasai people, because they have their own rights and they should definitely be. That is why Amnesty International has condemned the authority in Tanzania for forcefully evicting members of the indigenous Maasai community from their ancestral homeland. It's very bad. The human rights group said that in June last year, anyway, the security forces repeatedly resorted to the use of force, arbitrary arrest, and shooting of Maasai people in the Lolundu province near the Serengeti National Park. For concern, definitely own their rights. They have their own responsibility. They should be careful, and maybe they are calling upon everybody to ensure that their rights are being protected, and the authorities saying that it is actually being done to protect wildlife. So we need to be very careful. So let's come into Nigeria. Police in northern Nigeria say armed men have killed 30 people in raid on 6 villages at the weekend. So pathetic. The residents from villages said the attacks in Sokoto state we are reprisal for refusing to pay protection money to bandits. Sad. It is only in Nigeria, only in Africa, that people who should be legally guided and protected by the police have to pay protection money or beads to armed bandits, so that can either prevent other armed groups attacking them, or two, prevent these bandits carrying on raid on them. That is what they are saying. Because if they come to raid, they will kill and do whatever thing. So you must pay special bills to the armed bandits. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I was saying this, I'm going to repeat this. He's too old, not strong. He knows the Nigerian problem. But it's not that strong to confront the issue now. It is not the matter of having right to lead. But if you are qualified, it's fine. You have the right to lead, it's fine. But do you have, and qualification should not only be something merited on your brain, age, whatsoever, even the physical. Because when we talk about health, it doesn't only relate to somebody being physically, mentally, or whatsoever. You also be, it's not only to the well-being of the person, the absence of sickness, no. But you should also be physically fit. I don't think whether it's that man is well to lead that particular country. So protection bill, people are being killed for. So one witness who live in the Guandabawa district told Punch newspapers that the coordinated attack happened after evening prayers in two of the same villages. Listen to what the witness said. He said, after killing them, they set their corpses and those of the animals on fire, ensuring that those people are burned beyond recognition. After killing those people, they set the corpses of the disease and the animals that they kill on fire to ensure that those people are burned beyond recognition. It's a major means of sending a signal to others that if we refuse paying our protection bills or money, when we come back, we'll do worse than this. Sad. And Bola Ahmed Tinubu was saying he will definitely end. But the security was one of the priority. That was what he said. The latest attack came just a week ago, after the new Nigerian president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, promised the people. He took the oath of office and promised reforms to tackle the country's rampant insecurity. That's what he said. Listen to what he said. He said, better coordination, consultation, and timely reporting, we are all needed to improve the way security agencies work together. Mr. Tinubu said a later meeting, that was what he said in the later meeting with the security forces. And this is the result. I think they are just trying to tell him that there are more things for him to do, not just coordination, this, that. He needs to be very careful. And maybe Nigeria is turning itself directly into a failed state. So we need to be very, very careful on what happened. Let's come to Malawi. Malawi, we are seeing the human rights are actually accusing the Nigerian government of possibly dumping refugees out of Lilongwe, the capital city. They're calling it a encampment policy. The campaign say Malawi has disregarded the basic human right, detaining and possibly relocating asylum seekers. They are saying that they do not have the right to come to be living within the Tanzanian government, within the township of Tanzania, Malawi, especially places that Lilongwe and Blantyre, that all refugees should be encamped into one camp. However, the refugees are claiming that in those camps, there are no better living conditions, schools are in dilapidated condition, there is no good medical facility, water system, electricity bill, so they can't afford to be living. But in Malawi, refugees are not actually allowed to live among citizens. Refugees will actually be living in carefully processed area. And they should definitely go into their refugees camp. A camp that was only constructed for 5,000 people, it is now hosting over 50,000 people. So it's a very pathetic condition. So not only the authorities committing abuses during arrest and detaining of children, summarily removing them from their homes, amount to unlawful invasions, alleged human rights, that is what they are saying. So they are doing all of these things, maybe against everything that is happening today. So we need to be very careful. And what is going on in Malawi may end up to create huge problem for others. So let's see again. Israel has handed over the body of an Egyptian policeman accused of killing 3 Israeli soldiers in an attack next to the border between the two countries. According to a newspaper, this particular police officer was actually recruited into the police force some 2 years back. He's 22 years old. But they are claiming that the man actually suffered some mental distress when he witnessed the killing of his colleagues, and since then, he has never been a stable personality. Maybe that resulted into him killing 3 Israeli police. The Israeli also resulted into killing Mohammed Salah Ibrahim, and his body has been handed over to the Egyptian government. So they come and see Kai Said, the son of former dictator and key president Muammar Gaddafi. That is a cannibal. Hannibal Said Gaddafi is definitely on hunger strike. One of the surviving sons of the former Libyan president Muammar Gaddafi has gone on hunger strike to protest against his prolonged detention in Lebanon, says his lawyer Paul Ranamos. Hannibal Gaddafi was actually arrested in Lebanon for more than 8 years. He was arrested actually in Syria and sent to Lebanon for more than 8 years ago. His arrest came after the fall of his father, Muammar Gaddafi. He ran away into Syria. That was where he was arrested and subsequently handed over to the Lebanese government. But since then, he has been held under detention in Beirut, and the Lebanese government definitely is not willing to release them. So still into Malawi again, 22 footballers and fans were actually killed on Saturday after a local game or after a local match. They were heading back to their province. There was a slipover from the vehicle, which resulted into 22 of the footballers and their supporters who served as spectators on the field. They lost their life and 8 are others still seriously injured. The Malawian president Lazarus Chikawa has actually sent his condolences, and he has asked the emergency group or the emergency agency in Malawi to ensure that they fully support the bereaved family in time of distress, and he also promised to improve on the system. And they are saying that 80 passengers into one vehicle, sometime in Africa, overload lead to the destruction of life and property. Then coming to Africa's private sector key to resilience, economic resilience. That is why they are saying, you know, everything about government, we do not have private sectors into Africa. Most of those private sectors do not even belong to Africa. They belong to Europeans, Lebanese, or foreigners. At the end of the day, we are being exploited. So we need native Africans to set up private sectors in type of business so that they can improve on the continent. Because if you have a Sierra Leonean doing business in the form of private sector, when he develops Sierra Leone. If a Lebanese come here, he will definitely end up to take our cash back to Lebanon. When a Syrian comes, we end up to take our cash back to Syria. At the end of the day, we'll be exploited. So we're expecting Africans to develop private business sectors on the continent. As I speak, we have only 345 private companies turning over into Africa, just 1 billion or more. While Europe has about 2,700 private companies, and Asia has over 300, over 3,000. So it's an insult. The amount is infinitesimal. And if you cannot create an African society where we may have these private sectors who are Africans leading the system, it will definitely destroy us. So the thing is going on in Abidjan, Ivory Coast, and hope and pray that the business or the meeting becomes successful. We're also seeing like in Sudan, Ibrahim El Badawi, the former economic minister and World Bank economist, is saying that the conflict has actually cost over 3.5 billion United States dollar since it started. He's claiming that the situation may be definitely worse if peace cannot strike into Sudan. He's saying that if peace is struck today, then there's a possibility that everything will be turned over, because you cannot have an economy without peace. And he said that peace will never become everlasting if prosecution and possible jail sentences and other judgment are not be rendered on the perpetrators. So the system should not remain the way they are. After everything is saying that there should be penalties for those who have committed the greatest crimes into the country. That is what he's saying. And I think I subscribe to his mentality because people need to be dealt decisively for what they are doing. Finally, we have our last story. Kenya has closes all diplomatic missions with the Sudan. It is because the conflict into the country is definitely creating more problem. And we are now seeing a lot of people are now closing their, or a lot of countries are now closing their diplomatic mission with the country because there is no hope and the situation is continuing to create problems every day, every day, every day. And a lot of people are now thinking that there is no more hope for that particular country. And Kenya and others saying their citizens or their official mission into the Sudan is now officially closed. However, they still remain committed to evicting their citizens, but there is no more official mission of Kenya into the Sudan because Sudan is now declared as a kind of serious country where lives are definitely in danger. Finally, let's see voters await result in Guinea-Bissau. The capital city is actually Bissau. Let's see, voters in in West African country of Guinea-Bissau actually are waiting for the result of Sunday's vote to elect MPs, that is member of parliament. Some countries call it House of Representatives. Nearly 1 million people out of vote. Only 1 million out of the country's 2 million population registered to vote in the legislative election that closed around 1700 local time, according to the National Electoral Commission of Guinea-Bissau. About 200 election observers, including 75 from the West African region bloc ECOWAS, which stands keenly contested vote, with none of the 22 political parties expected to win absolute majority in the polls. The African Party has the independence of Guinea and Cape Verde had traditionally been leading party, which it has actually been the traditionally leading party in Guinea. And it is now in opposition, and despite having the biggest number of seats, the largest party or the coalition in parliament appoints the government under the current constitution. Still, the president has the power to dismiss it in certain circumstances, a situation that has led to the deadlock in the past. President Umaru Sissoco Embalo was elected in 2022 under the Mandim G5 party, which broke away from the purge. The Mandim G5 party had the second highest number of seats in parliament. Last year, the president faced criticism after he dissolved the parliament and appointed his own official in government 3 months after he said he had survived a coup attempt. That's what I say. Maybe, in short, the Guinea-Bissau system is a blend of presidential and parliamentary system of government. Thank you. It's been me, Edward Amra, Focus on Liberia, West African correspondent, coming to you with the latest development on the continent. And if you can see, just to wrap up the news headline, another latest news dropping on Mandex says that over 350 people have actually been injured in Senegal in the kind of contest, and at least 16 people have been killed. These are official results. South Africa is full of deteriorating situation, and we are now seeing that a lot of things are actually happening on the continent on a daily basis. Thank you. Good night. It's been me, Edward Amra, Focus on Liberia, West African correspondent, coming to you with the latest development on the continent. Join me tomorrow, same place, same time, with new news, with more news and other development on the continent.